My name is Olivia Katz, and I am the founder of the Heart Atlas. The Heart Atlas is a platform for sharing stories that are dedicated to social, environmental, and humanitarian issues around the globe. I started this project about 2.5 years ago when I first moved to Australia. At the time, the bushfire crisis was unfolding and everything was mayhem. I was living in Sydney at the time, and even though Sydney was protected from the fires, I woke up each and every day to a sky that was bright orange, to air filled with smoke, and to non-stop news about the wreckage that was unfolding across the country. I was really overwhelmed with what was happening. I felt this undeniable urge to go to these places and talk to these people and see it for myself and understand what was happening. So when some of the fires died down just south of me, I packed up a rental car and I took my only friend in Australia at the time with me to go to Cobargo and Mogo to speak to people and better understand what was happening and what they needed. I ended up being introduced to first a wombat carer, Bill, who's just a total legend. He had evacuated and returned his animals some 5 times to his property. The entire surrounds were burnt to the ground, but somehow his place survived. He introduced me to his friend James Fitzgerald, who had a koala sanctuary named Two Thumbs Wildlife in southern New South Wales, just below Canberra. So I took a couple trips to visit James. I ended up sort of loosely following James's story for a year after the bushfires. I met him just after, and then I revisited him a year later. And it was it was a really incredible journey. It was really hard to see how much he had lost and how a year later he was still suffering, and his land was suffering, and so were the animals. But even though it was really heart-wrenching and hard, there was some part of me that felt like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So the Heart Atlas has been steadily growing and gaining steam over the last 2.5 years. But when the floods happened 5 months ago in the Northern Rivers, where I currently live, I had never lived in such close proximity to a disaster of this magnitude. And I hit the streets as soon as I could. The first month, I really didn't take photos or videos. I just wanted to help people. And there was so much work to be done. And there was so much suffering and chaos. But about a month in, I realized that all of this incredible help that the community was offering one another was just not sustainable. We didn't have enough resources, funding, energy, or time to essentially lead the recovery. It was just this black hole of need. And however many blankets I purchased, or food vouchers I purchased, or kids' clothes I delivered, there was going to be still such a need, because thousands and thousands of people had been displaced and had lost everything. And months in, we were still waiting for the government to show up. So at that point, I began documenting what was happening, the damage, and the people I was meeting and their stories. And the more people I met and the more stories I heard, the more fuel there was in my tank to keep going, because the need was so great. And these people that I was meeting were just total characters, and resilient and strong and resourceful, but so heartbroken by not only what had happened to them the night of February 28th, but what happened to them since. And so about 2-3 months in, I decided I really wanted to make a documentary about what was happening. And that's what I've been doing in my spare time outside of school. Is I've been traveling around the region, meeting people and hearing their stories. I've also continued to try to help people along the way, link them to resources and to housing, and I had another GoFundMe where I fundraised about $13,000, and that money went right back to flood victims, to purchase caravans, to purchase food, to buy new clothes, to get a rental that they didn't have money for. That money went so fast. I mean, yeah, a black hole of need. And I've just met some of the most exquisite beings, from the helpers to the people that needed help. And a lot of them were the same people. So many people that had lost everything, getting out there day after day to cook meals, to deliver goods, to collect furniture, to build pods. I could name so many, and some of them are in this project. So I've been spending my evenings and my weekends and often my holidays working on this project down in Bungawalbin and Lismore and Broadwater and Korakai, and talking to, at this point, probably hundreds of people about how they're doing and what's happening. And it's been a really eye-opening experience to recognize the incongruity between what's been publicized and touted and promised and what people's lives actually really look like on the ground here. Honestly, I wish this story didn't need to be told. Because it's a really sad one. But I feel honored to have met these people and to have witnessed some of what they've been through, and to watch so many people push on and get back on their feet and find hope and find strength in the face of so much adversity and such a profound lack of government support. The communities are keeping the communities afloat to this day. And I think the community response to this disaster really inspired this project, Out of the Mud, which is the documentary that I've been working on with a number of incredible volunteers who have been helping. Up until now, the Heart Atlas has been self-funded, which means me. And I've really wanted to keep autonomy over the project so that I can make decisions about the kinds of stories we tell and how we tell them. But the reality is this work is really hard to do without funding. We are coming to the end of filming for Out of the Mud, and we have accomplished so much without funding. But the reality is we are all really running on fumes and we need more support. So I am launching a GoFundMe in the hopes that people might find some benefit in what we're doing and want to get on board and back us. I feel really excited about this project, Out of the Mud. We've met some absolute powerhouse people, and more than anything, my hope is that this project will raise more awareness about what life looks like 6 months after the floods for many people on the ground, and bring more attention and more support to the region. The hope is that this funding would be able to basically pay myself and my entire team for their efforts. It would allow me to hire an editor and a colorist and a sound person to really bring this final piece together. And It would also allow me to reinvest in the Heart Atlas. So the Heart Atlas, as it breathes today, is a tiny little seed of what I dream for it to one day be. I really want it to be a platform for these kinds of stories globally. I want us to have allies and connections across the world with other organizations that are doing amazing work. And I also want it to be a source of inspiration and impact and action and ideally funds. I would love to turn it into a foundation or some kind of entity that can not only tell these stories, which are really important, but also provide tangible resources for people when they need them. So right now, this GoFundMe is about helping get our Out of the Mud finished and out in the most beautiful form it can be in. And it's about being able to reinvest in the Heart Atlas. So this is what this fundraiser is all about. And yeah, the next couple of minutes, I'll just take you through a little bit of the work that I've done in the last couple of years and give you a sense of where we're headed. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your heart. And thank you for being on this journey with us.
So we're in the middle of Cedar Street in Woodburn, which is just down from the main street. Corner behind me on the left is the old IGA, which has gone under completely, and the pub went under completely. So the whole main street of shops was completely wiped out, and all down my street, all up at the highest point, which has never flooded before in the 1954 or the 1974 flood. We got rescued off our boat at about midnight off the balcony, and our neighbour's boat was hanging, floating outside our bedroom window.
My name's Narelle. It was a patchwork and quilting business, and I lived out in the back, and now it's all gone. Yeah, it's devastating. We're broke, and a lot of people are homeless. It was just lapping at the door, and then I came through. I'd already packed up my shop and put it in the car, and I took the car to the high road. It went under, so it was coming so quickly, and nobody expected that. And like by 12:30 that night, I heard that the car went under, which meant this was under. Yeah, there's mud. It's everything stinks. It's the stench, but it's not only that. It's in here. It's your head. Like I lived here. I've had 2 children. I lost one 24 years ago. She was nearly 9 with leukemia. And that's what my business was named, Bindies, after her. So all of her memories that I had, a lot of them are gone as well. It's heartbreaking, yeah, but it's reality. It's happened, because when you walk in, it is really, it's overwhelming. My lounge room, I've got, the photos and that I've taken and the videos. It's just like a tsunami's gone through, literally. The reality is setting in. I've lost everything. It's hard. And to see it all just go, you can't. How can you rebuild? There's nothing to rebuild from. We need the government to help us, please. when you've lost your whole life and you've lost everything, it would really, really help. So thank you.